this corpse is then placed next to you. For how long on the flight?
For the next, it was 4 hours, 3.5 to 4 hours left on the flight.
Ah, air travel, one of humanity's greatest achievements. The ability to be crammed into a metal tube at 35,000 feet, seated next to screaming babies and apparently the dearly departed. This, my friends, is the story of Mitch and Jenny, a lovely couple from Melbourne who embarked on what was supposed to be a dream vacation to Venice, but instead got front row seats to the worst in-flight experience imaginable.
So, Mitch, if you can just sort of explain what happened on the flight, because I know this woman walked out of the bathroom and collapsed next to your seat. How did that then play out?
Well, the staff were there in no time, and I pat them on the back. They did a wonderful job trying to revive her. It was right beside me in the aisle, and they did everything they could, but unfortunately the lady couldn't be saved, which was pretty heartbreaking to watch.
Now, at this point, you'd think, okay, this is a serious situation, but surely the airline has a protocol for this, right? Well, nope. Watch.
Then they went to try and move her. They brought this chair down, which I'd never seen before, but it had just 2 wheels on the back, and they put her in this chair. And they tried to wheel her up towards business class, but she was quite a large lady, and they couldn't get her through the aisle because her height was at armchair height. So they looked a bit frustrated, and then they just looked at me and saw seats were available beside me. My wife was on the other side. We were in a row of 4 by ourselves, and they just said to me, "Can you move over, please?" And I just said yes, no problem. And then they placed the lady in the chair that I was in.
So instead of finding an alternative solution, they look at Mitch and go, "Hey, buddy, we need that seat. Mind sliding over?" And just like that, Mitch is officially co-piloting this flight with a corpse.
You're then placed, or this corpse is then placed next to you. For how long on the flight?
For the next, it was 4 hours, 3.5 to 4 hours left on the flight.
So I can understand why this was so distressing, Jenny.
Yeah, I'm not a great flyer at the best of times, but when my husband turned around and said, move, we've got to move, I was really shocked, and I said, are they going to, put her there? And luckily a lady behind me on the other aisle, she said, darling, come here, a lovely English lady. And I sat next to her. But so Mitch was across the aisle then from me for the rest of the flight.
I don't know how you're going to go, Mitch, getting her back on a flight after something like this. But from what we understand, there were empty seats on the plane. Did cabin crew offer to move you?
No, they just asked me to move across in my seat.
Because I know that international guidelines are pretty clear on this, that unless it's a full flight, and it wasn't, that they should move you to another seat with few other passengers nearby. You weren't given that option?
No. And I know, well, there were spare seats I could see around us.
I would have thought with airlines that there would be somewhere to actually put these bodies so they weren't having to be placed next to passengers.
Some type of protocol, definitely. That was, we totally understand, and we can't hold the airlines responsible for the poor lady's death. But surely after that, there has to be a protocol that then looks after the customers that are on board.
And there was another situation at the end when we landed.
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if the pilot came on and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be landing in Doha shortly. Please make sure your seatbelts are fastened, and if you're seated next to a deceased passenger, please just try to cope."
They told us in our area to stay in our seats, and then the ambulance officers and the police came in, and then the ambulance officers started pulling the blankets off the lady right beside me. I was there, and I got to see her face. Yeah, it wasn't nice.
Traumatic, seriously.
Now, after surviving that flight from hell, Mitch and Jenny do the logical thing. They email the airline for support. And what does the airline say? That's right, radio silence. Nobody blames the airline for the woman's death, but what should airlines do differently? Let's talk about it. 1. Have a designated area for emergencies like this. Some airlines actually do have protocols for this. Qatar clearly missed the memo. 2. Offer an alternative seat. If the plane isn't full, move the living people away. 3. Provide proper support post-flight. 4. Train staff better. Because, "Sir, scoot over, we need a spot for the body," should never be plan A. Mitch and Jenny handled this like champs, but let's be real. This is one hell of a way to start a vacation.